you for joining me. I'm going to talk a little bit about how you might go about approaching UK companies and the help that we and the Knowledge Transfer Network can give you to start working both with UK companies and also with UK universities. Okay, so collaborating for innovation with UK enterprises. This is really designed to prompt you to think about scanning the horizon to see what's coming up. Britain has a lot of expertise in this area, not only in waste as a resource, but in a whole raft of different technologies, different systems, different principles of thinking. I just put a few up here of interest. Things like managing waste journeys. We have a lot of experience in the UK because we have a very long industrial heritage, and therefore we've made a lot of mistakes which we're trying to get out of now. We're trying to manage our environment much more effectively, and we have a lot of problems to deal with. But we've been trying to do this for several decades now, so we do have a lot of experience in our research organisations and in our companies in how to deal with this. We're also one of the most urbanised nations in the world, and we are doing a lot of research on what I've called here smarter cities with integrated infrastructure, and resource management and indeed waste is certainly part of that, along with power generation and water management and so on. So we have expertise in those areas too, and I like to think that we in Britain are also pretty good at doing communications. And there may be people here in the audience whose interest is less on the technical side, but more on how to deal with stakeholder engagement. And there's a lot of expertise in Britain on that as well. Now, UKTI have been doing some research, and they will be producing promotional literature shortly. They've been doing some research to capture the areas in which Britain is particularly skilled, and I've put a few of them up here just to get us going. And I'm going to talk more particularly about the organisations that can help you make a start in working in some of these areas with UK partners. So I just put a few basics up here. I'm not going to read out, you'll be very pleased to know I'm not going to read out all of my slides, but you'll be able to see that there are areas here where we have some expertise. I'm told we're very good at designing storage systems. That may or may not be so, but there's some nice coloured ones in the picture there. But just as another example of, say, eco-design, which is one of the areas we're looking at, we have British companies looking, for example, at this one, the fridge of the future. I have no idea what it's going to look like because the research at the moment is still in progress, but we are looking not only at systems, but also at manufacturing. And contrary to popular opinion, the UK still does produce a lot of manufactured goods, and we are trying to get ahead of the game in designing those for recycling, for disassembly, for reuse, and for remanufacturing, all those parts of the circular economy. We're working on not every aspect of waste and resources management, but a number, particular technologies. Tire recycling is another, for example. Optical sorting of the waste stream is another area where we have expertise. Just as an example, we have research going on at the moment in how to reclaim particular metals from the waste stream. This is just a company, Imerys, who have had grant funding from the UK government at the moment to reclaim lithium, the metal lithium, from kaolin and granite waste from the mining industry, a very long history of mining in the southwest in the UK. So, that's an example where our long heritage has led to new technologies and new solutions being explored. Another one here, this is another recovery one. This is a company, Phosphonics, who are looking at how to recover platinum from all sorts of elements of the waste stream, so to recover value from that waste. They have a project called TRAP. Now, as we go through, you will see that I can't tell you all the projects that are being funded and supported, innovative projects. I can only give you just some little glimpses, and if you want to know more or to know more about particular technologies, you should go over to the UKTI, to the Knowledge Transfer Network stand. Our universities are also doing some good research. For example, this is just one of the projects that Birmingham University is working on at the moment, which is looking at technology for recycling permanent magnets. I'm sure they don't look like that picture there, but that's the sort of technology they're looking at anyway. The UK is very good at digital technologies, and there are many, many examples now in terms of resource management where digital technologies are becoming so important, not only for business planning and efficient operations, but in order to do things like track waste and track resources. Where are they, and how perhaps companies can recover materials that they're producing and goods that they're producing. The UK is very good at the modelling and prediction areas of this. We're doing a lot of research on this in British universities, for example, on the mathematics and the modelling and the forecasting, or prediction rather, of waste streams. We also work on generating value from waste in both in biological context and in terms of high-tech incineration, that kind of thing, plasma technologies, and so on. Again, I can't give you the details of all of these projects, but I can refer you to people in the next hall who can. So generating value from waste in all sorts of different ways. You will be familiar, I'm sure, with the idea that the UK has great global advisory services, things like financial services, investment advice, procurement advice, legal services, and so on. We are very good at that. And again, there may be people here this afternoon who are interested in those services, consultancy services of various sorts. Just to give you an example of communications technology and its link with sustainability, we've recently funded a project by a company called Clarity Sustainability, working with one of the UK universities on reducing the environmental impact of branded event communications. Now, if we look around us today, we're surrounded by materials that may only be used once or twice, and we are looking very seriously at how we can recover those materials and reuse them for future events, rebrand, repurpose, and so on. So there is research going on in that area as well. This morning, I don't know if any of you are reading the newspapers, but the QS have just published their latest analysis of universities, and again, 4 of the top 10 universities in the world are in Britain. I'll leave you to guess which ones of the ones on the screen here those 4 are, but I should say to you, I'm a visiting researcher at the University of Oxford, and that's one of them. We have some very good universities in the UK, but the expertise we have in resource management and in the waste sector is actually very widely spread. So there are smaller universities who have specialist expertise. The one that I might pick out from here is the University of Northampton, which is a small university to the north of London that has a large team of specialist researchers in the waste sector, looking at waste analysis, pathways, cycling, repurposing, and so on. So the point I want to make here is that UK research expertise is not only concentrated in the big research-intensive universities. There are many universities across the UK with specialist areas of expertise, and there will be people, again, if you wish to meet them, my colleagues in the Knowledge Transfer Network can help you to do that. Now, I want to say a little bit about how Britain's innovation infrastructure works. You're sitting here today, you've been taken up an invitation from UK Trade and Investment to join them. UK Trade and Investment specialise in international partnerships. The Innovate UK is the organisation in the UK that sponsors and supports innovation generally. Now that includes partnerships between UK organisations and amongst UK organisations, but it also includes partnerships with international organisations, whether they be universities, companies, government departments, and so on. So we can certainly help you with that. Innovate UK is, the Knowledge Transfer Network, as you see at the bottom of the screen there, is part of the Innovate UK family. And Innovate, and we share its objectives. We're actually the public engagement part of Innovate UK. There's three main objectives. We're promoting excellent science, we're promoting competitive industries, and we're also promoting a better society, a more equitable society, a society that gives us a higher standard of living. And we want to promote all three of those objectives. But we do have competitive industries at the centre of what we do. That's what I want to focus on now. And I'm putting this in the context of what some researchers have called the next manufacturing revolution. We're in the middle of a huge amount of change in the way in which we look at waste and resources. And we would like to say that British universities and research organisations are heading up that revolution in terms of understanding some of its implications and pointing out what the implications may be for the UK, but also the UK's international partnerships. This slide is just really illustrating the possibilities of the circular economy and what that might mean for Britain. Now, I'm guessing that most of you are familiar with the idea of the circular economy. Yeah? Actually, this is the point where I say, is anybody not? And then you're all too frightened to put your hands up because you feel you'll look rather silly. But the idea that materials and goods can be recovered at the end of their first life and reused, reclaimed, repurposed, and so on. So it's not just about recycling, it's about a whole raft of things, including remanufacturing items with new guarantees and so on, and indeed just reuse of goods themselves. Now, we think that for the UK, this has huge implications for economic, environmental, and social realms. And we also think that working internationally will help both partners address those realms, the economic, the social, and the environmental. So I just put, there's something on here about money, there's something about jobs, there's something about greenhouse gas emissions, and all of those things are very important, at least in my mind they are. Now, Innovate UK produces a strategic plan every 3 or 4 years, and I'm slightly embarrassed because they are about to produce the new one, and I haven't got a copy yet. It will be produced, I'm guessing, later on this autumn, because the UK government is reviewing at the moment its spending priorities. But we have a direction of travel for innovation support in the UK, and it covers really 4 main priorities. It's about accelerating, what it says on here, the journey from the concept, the idea, through to the product. So trying to speed that process up. It's about connecting different organisations together, whether they be companies or universities or research organisations in the private sector or indeed globally. It says here, connecting the innovation landscape. Actually, I hate that phrase, but that's what I'm told to tell you. So it's about connecting the innovation landscape. The third one there, turning government action into business opportunity. There are some things where the government does actually regulate, and this will be the case internationally as well. The waste industry, the old waste industry, indeed, is very tightly regulated in the UK, and the British government is very keen to make sure that that regulation actually generates opportunity. So if we tighten up on, say, greenhouse gas emissions, that yields new technological opportunities that we want to exploit, if necessary, and perhaps with overseas collaborators. The fourth one there is about global potential. We're interested in investing research funding, stimulation funding in areas that have big markets, big potential markets. I said there were 4 points, or actually 5. The fifth one there is just about getting better all the time. And of course, we all work for organisations that get better all the time, don't we? I'm sure that's true. Okay, so the Knowledge Transfer Network is part of that landscape, and we are the people who bring organisations together. We take people, I hope, from the basic principles of science and technology through to testing, piloting, developing and scaling up, through to successful operation of new kinds of technology in a fully commercial realm. We have a very large number of members. Now, membership is free. You can join the Knowledge Transfer Network, whoever you are. You don't need to be British. Anybody can join. You join as an individual. This slide is a long way out of date, and I couldn't find the latest membership figures, but I'm guessing we have about 80,000 innovators on our books, people interested in innovation in a large number of companies. And the figure on delegates, we run a lot of events. The figure on delegates is very out of date as well. We have basic communities, a large number of communities. So the resources and waste management interest falls within what we call sustainability and resource efficiency. It's broadly within that area. But some of you may have interests in novel materials, and we have a novel materials community. Some of you may have interests in chemistry. We have a chemistry community, and so on. So we have a number of communities and cross-sector groups as well. Some of the cross-sector groups would be interested in things like maybe mathematics or something as a modelling as solutions. So you can join any of these groups. We provide information and news through the website, through newsletters and so on. We provide some horizon scanning advice. Let's see what's going on in a particular sector. We run events and activities to transfer knowledge, to help people collaborate. And more particularly, we run partnering events. Now, the session just now is not a partnering event. This is me just telling you how to, what I know about the organisation and giving you a signal about the right direction. But we do run many events in Britain, many of which are actually available online as interactive webinars. You can ask questions actually while the event's going on to help people find partners for particular projects. And then we help with finding funding as well. We provide help with finding funding as well. So I tried to capture that, and I think it's important just to emphasize that if we really want innovation, it's not just about me telling you, here's a company that's doing X, think about it, go away and do something. It's about, what we want to do is really grow innovation. And to do that, we have to not just transfer information, which our name implies, we're the Knowledge Transfer Network, but we actually want to broker partnerships and stimulate innovation, which is part of a much bigger picture, really. So we don't just give out information, we're not just a newsletter. Okay, so we have a number of what we call tools in the toolkit. And again, I don't have time this afternoon to go through all of these, but some of these are grants for funded research. Some are opportunities to move staff around. Some of them are large collaborations between companies and universities. There are European things on here, and so on. As I say, I can't explain all of them, but what I would say is that in some of these, non-UK people can be direct participants. In others, you can be an associated partner, but you can't, in most cases, the UK government won't give international organisations money to collaborate, but we will fund the partnership so that you can participate with a UK partner. Okay, so there are some differences between these different programmes, and that needs a more detailed explanation. But we have a range of tools to do that. Just an example of a community that we manage, we do have a circular economy community. Again, it's an online community where they put out information, they offer online discussion, they run events and so on and so on, and the Knowledge Transfer Network team can help you if you're interested in joining that community to explore any of these things that are on the screen. We also run competitions, and that's one of the larger areas where the money goes. Recently, we've run various competitions to do with the waste sector. I showed you one or two examples of projects that had been funded recently, but the projects were related to a number of competitions, more than are on here actually, and there were many others as well about the water sector, renewable energy and so on, where waste is part of, and resources is part of the picture. So Innovate UK funds through grant aid some of these collaborations through competitions, and I suppose trying to draw this all together, we think at the moment that there are interesting opportunities for the waste sector arising in a number of areas. Now I've put just a few examples up here. Obviously, materials and energy shortages are pressing very hard on the resources sector to be more efficient and to recover more materials. So that's absolutely certain. But there are some very interesting opportunities arising too from things like the development of novel materials, new materials. Now, for example, the one I would pick out, just to illustrate this, is the use of carbon fibre. Now, you'll all be aware that carbon fibre composites are used in aeroplane bodies, and they're used in racing cars. But they're starting to come into cars generally, car bodies. Parts of those are now incorporating carbon fibre materials. And it's not going to be very long, in my opinion, before carbon fibre starts appearing in the bodies of electric toasters and small household appliances. Then we have to think about, well, what is the implication of that for the waste and resource management sector? Because at the moment, we don't have any good ways of recycling some of these novel materials. So that's an example. There are opportunities there to develop technologies to deal with some of these new materials, whether they offer opportunities for benefit or whether they are problematic. The Internet of Things. Does everybody know what the Internet of Things is? No? Okay, well this is the idea that you can put small, if you like, tags onto items of equipment or materials that will tell you where they are or talk to one another. The example, you'll have to forgive me, the example that I always like to use with the Internet of Things is that your fridge, your refrigerator can talk to the supermarket. And when your fridge is running out of eggs, it can say to the supermarket, you know, this house here, we've run out of eggs, can you organise a delivery of eggs without you having to do anything? That would be an example of the Internet of Things. Now, it worries me, I have to say, because in my case, you just have to look at me and you can see that my fridge would also be speaking to the bathroom scales. And the bathroom scales will be saying, don't order eggs, order lettuce. And then, you know, I go to open my fridge door and it says you can't open the door because you're not allowed to eat. Okay? So this is, you know, that's slightly worrying. But the Internet of Things does have very interesting possibilities for the movement of materials, not just food or information, but tracing. We're already using it, for example, to trace aeroplane engines. Rolls-Royce knows where all its aeroplane engines are because they have tracking devices in them, in theory at least. The Internet of Things has lots of possibilities. Remanufacturing, remaking things from existing things, there's an example. 3D printing, again, some interesting possibilities, but also some challenges. What are the 3D printers, what is the material that they're using? Is that recyclable? I mean, in theory, with 3D printing, you can make a replacement part for something. That's great. If your vacuum cleaner breaks, you can print a replacement part. But it's also raises some other challenges. That's very energy inefficient to print a part, one part in your home. So there's some challenges there, and there's some other things there, interesting opportunities. I'm not going to go through these. I just put some examples here of winners in recent UK competitions. Competitions run on, in this case, on circular economy. And you can see here different kinds of industries, many different kinds of industries, from clothing to engineering to information management organisations, developing materials, products and services for circular economies. There's some more there. All sorts of things. I mean, one of those is about how to develop tents that you can reuse from festivals, instead of them all being left behind at the end. Whereas others are, much bigger in terms of their scope. So there's just a few examples to stimulate some ideas. Now, I should just put a caution here. I don't know how many of you are familiar with what's called the Gartner hype cycle. Do we have any Americans here? No? Well, Gartner is an American pundit, a company that looks at long-term trends, and they say that every technology goes through this cycle. So somebody on the left has a new idea, a new technology, they think this is great, and everybody gets very excited about it. And we say it's going to do everything. The Internet of Things is going to do everything. So we go up the left-hand side to reach this peak of what it's called here, inflated expectations. So graphene is another example. British invention, graphene, it's going to do everything, okay? We get very excited, and then suddenly we think, oh no, it's not going to do everything, and we go down the slide, and then eventually we reach some point where we think, oh, well, actually, we do now know what it's going to do. So we come out here to the plateau of productivity. Now, when I'm talking about new technologies, we do have to bear this thing in mind. If you look on the web under Gartner, you will find that they actually do this analysis for particular technologies. And you can find them on where they think they are year by year. The last one was just published in August, in fact. So that's an interesting analysis. So do have a look at that. As I say, the Internet of Things is about to plummet, or so they say. Okay, so finally, we are looking at new competitions. So Innovate UK will be funding new competitions for 2016, 2017 and so on. We have some ideas about the kind of things we're going to be funding in this area. I've just put some of them up on here. So we're looking at long-chain molecules, we're looking at waste logistics, novel materials I mentioned, barriers to recycling is another area we're looking at. So these are probable competition themes where the UK government will be investing money into or putting money up for bidding for competitions. Now, the typical amount that is available to any one organisation varies from, let's say, 25,000 to perhaps over £1 million. So it's very, very variable. And no money has yet been allocated to these. But what I would say is we are very interested in where you think money should be invested. So if you've got ideas, not only about a particular technology, but if you are an industry that has a challenge, a particular technical challenge that you think needs looking at, we would be very glad to hear from you. Okay, so we'd be very glad indeed, because you can actually help us to frame our competitions, okay, to identify suitable topics for our competitions. We have some tools to help people develop their bids. The one I would refer you to as a general principle is something called the Horizons tool, which is really about sustainability. So we want to highlight that solutions need to be sustainable. And that's because, if you remember right back at the beginning, I said Innovate UK is interested in good science, competitive companies, and a better society. And the pillars thereof, those three pillars are the things, in our view, that underpins success in technology. We don't want a technology that develops something that is unsustainable. We want things to be properly thought through with, say, a life cycle analysis for a product. So this tool is on the web. It can help you, and we can help you with the KTN. From the KTN, we can help you in we can't draft applications for projects for you, but we can comment on them for you and help you align them closely with the competition priorities.